Number 10, the ghost child. This was the game of becoming invisible. You were the kid who could sit in a room so quietly that adults would forget you were there. You learned to walk without making a sound and to play without taking up space. You saw it as a superpower, your ability to be a silent observer. But this wasn't a game, it was a survival strategy. In a chaotic or threatening home, visibility is a liability. Your young brain learned that to be unseen is to be safe. This wasn't shyness. It was your nervous system mastering the art of self erasure to avoid becoming a target. Number 9, the world builder. You were the child with the intricate fantasy world inside your head. You had imaginary friends, elaborate storylines, and could spend hours totally lost in your own creation. Adults praised your incredible imagination, but this wasn't just creativity, it was an escape hatch. When your real world was painful, unpredictable, or emotionally barren, your brain built a better one. This is known as dissociation, and it was a psychological lifeboat for this missing in your life. You weren't just playing, you were constructing a sanctuary where you could feel safe, powerful, and in control. Number 8, the Little Diplomat. You were the designated peacemaker. You could sense a fight brewing from a mile away and instinctively knew how to smooth things over. You mediated arguments between your parents or calmed down angry siblings. Everyone called you mature and empathetic, but this wasn't a personality trait. It was a high stakes job you were never supposed to have. Your brain was in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for emotional threats. You learned to manage the feelings of the adults around you because you understood on a primal level that your own stability depended entirely on theirs. Number 7, the Human Chameleon. This was the game of fitting in anywhere and everywhere. You could effortlessly change your personality, your slang, and your interests to match whatever group you were with. You were a jock with the athletes and a nerd with the bookworms. You saw it as being socially gifted, but this wasn't adaptability. It was a desperate quest for acceptance. In a home where love and approval were conditional, your brain learned that your authentic self was not enough, so it became a master of disguise, believing that if you could become what others wanted, you might finally be safe and worthy of connection. Number 6, the flawless child. You played the game of perfectionism. You had to get straight A's, keep your room spotless, and never get into trouble. Adults praised your discipline and drive, but this wasn't ambition, it was a terror of failure. In an environment where the slightest mistake could trigger anger or disappointment, your brain adopted the belief that if you are perfect, you cannot be punished. This relentless perfectionism wasn't about achieving success. It was about avoiding a catastrophic outcome that felt just one mistake away. Number 5, the secret treasurer. You were the child who hoarded strange things. Maybe it was shiny rocks, bottle caps, or even food wrappers hidden under your bed. From the outside, it looked like a quirky collection, but this wasn't a hobby. It was an attempt to create stability in a world of scarcity. When emotional connection or physical resources were unpredictable, your brain latched onto tangible objects. Each item was a little piece of security, a concrete thing you could control when everything else felt like it was slipping through your fingers. You weren't collecting junk, you were collecting moments of certainty. Number 4, the lone wolf. This was the game you played of fierce independence. You were the kid who never asked for help. You learned to tie your own shoes early, do your own homework, and soothe your own scraped knees. People admired your self sufficiency, but this wasn't a sign of strength. It was a symptom of neglect. As a child, you learned that your needs would not be met, or even worse, it would be met with annoyance and pushback. So your brain came to the conclusion that it is safer to have no needs at all than to risk the pain of asking and being rejected. Your independence was a fortress built around a deep, unspoken wound. Number three, the emotional weatherman. You had an unusual ability to read the emotional atmosphere of a room the moment you walked in. You knew an adult's mood by the sound of their footsteps, the tone in their voice, or the way they put their keys on the counter. This wasn't intuition, it was a finely tuned threat detection system. Growing up in an unpredictable environment forced your brain to focus all of its resources on tracking the moods of your caregivers. Your survival depended on being able to accurately predict the weather. Was a storm coming? Was it safe? And you became an expert emotional forecaster out of necessity. Number two, the class clown. You were the funny one, always ready with a joke or a silly face to make everyone laugh. You loved the feeling of breaking the tension and being the center of positive attention. But this wasn't just about being entertaining, it was a powerful deflection tool. Humor became your shield and your sword. You could use it to distract from a tense situation at home or to make yourself a lovable, non threatening target. For your brain, making people laugh was a far more reliable way to get the connection you craved than being vulnerable ever was. Number one, the little parent. You were the adult child, you took care of everyone. You made sure your younger or older siblings were fed. You listened to your mother's problems. You became the responsible adult in the room. You were praised for being an old soul. But you were not an old soul. You were a child stripped of your childhood. This role is known as parentification, and it is a profound trauma. Your brain had to skip its own development to meet the needs of others because in your world, there was no one else to do it. You weren't playing house, you were running one, carrying a weight that would shape the entire course of your life. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, bro. Like and subscribe to see more.